There you go.
Let's try that again. Director Najib,
Here.
Director Pence.
Here.
Are we in compliance with the open meetings law?
Yes, we are in compliance.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Okay, so first on our agenda is comments from the public. We have a board policy A0107 that states no person may speak more than once to an issue or for a period longer than 5 minutes, except upon the consent of a majority of the district board. No more than 3 people may be heard to one side of an issue, except upon consent of majority of the district board. We have 2 people signed up for a single topic, so I think we are good there. I want to remind the public, or the board will not be responding to any matter in adherence to the state of Wisconsin open meetings law, which prevents a governmental body from discussing any specific item that was not publicly noticed on the agenda. We appreciate your input and want to hear your comments. Please keep them respectful. Refrain from defamatory or harassing remarks identifying specific personnel via name or position. Also keep in mind that the MATC board hears personnel matters on appeal. To avoid a conflict with the appeals process, the board may interrupt public comments containing specific details on personnel issues unless the employee in question has waived their right to a board review. And only the employee in question can waive their right to a board review. The board may also interrupt comments containing inappropriate remarks. These guidelines are intended to maintain order, keep the board on task, and prevent interference with an employee's appeal rights. The board looks forward to hearing from the public and thanks you for your participation. Okay, our first public speaker is Annabelle Chavez.
Can I go ahead now?
Go ahead.
Dear President, Dr. Anthony Cruz, and esteemed members of the District Board of Milwaukee Area Technical College. We write on behalf of the Multicultural Coalition to reclaim MATC, united under the call to restore the 4. Our coalition is comprised of community organization, faith leaders, labor partners, and concerned residents committed to justice, equity, and the ethical governance of Milwaukee Area Technical College, an institution of critical importance to the greater Milwaukee community. We express our deep concern regarding the termination of 4 employees of color under your administration. On August 19, 2025, these individuals received termination letters signed by Dr. President Cruz, citing resident changes in the U.S. governance policy as justification. Our coalition strongly disputes both the rationale and the process underlying these actions. We do not believe that the proposed services intended to replace the Multicultural Center sufficiently appropriately meet the needs of MATC diverse student body. The elimination of established multicultural service without meaningful engagement with affected communities represents a significant step backward with MATC's longstanding commitment to access, inclusion, and student success. Community members attended both the August and September district board meetings to request a community center response to these dismissals. Since that time, this has been little to no meaningful communication regarding the board confirmation, publicly comment processes, or the multiple independent outreach efforts made directly to MATC administration and senior leadership. The continued absence of response and the ignoring of community voices raises serious concerns about how communication between the college and the community is being handled, safeguarded, and respected. These concerns are further amplified by the recent opening of the new spaces within the Community Impact Department. To date, there has been minimal observable engagement within these spaces following their grand opening. Beyond ceremonial entry, there is a little evidence of sustained programming, active community partnership development, or real-time responsiveness to student needs. The limited engagement calls into question the department's currently capacity to effectively serve students and fulfill the state mission. Taken together, these gaps must be addressed and considered as part of our call to reinstate a framework that was demonstrated operative and effective, rather than continue to advance a model that appears misaligned and with students' needs and shaped by current political considerations rather than evidence-based practices. Accordingly, we formally call for the immediate reinstatement of the 4 terminated employees and the librarian who was wrongfully terminated. Full restoration of lost wages and benefits, and independent audit of MATC human resources practices, echoing previous community calls for transparency and accountability. Absent responsive action, many stakeholders have expressed serious concerns about their ability to recommend MATC as a place of employment in higher education. The solution currently offers neither acknowledgement the significant work accomplished by these employees, nor addresses the tangible harm caused by their removal. The greater Milwaukee community stands united on these issues. As a community, we seek accountability, transparency, and demonstrate commitment to justice. Respectfully, the Multicultural Coalition to reclaim MATC. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Carlos Aranda, sorry.
Dear members of Milwaukee Area Technical College District Board, I attend before you once again to ask you to do what is ethically and morally right. Milwaukee Area Technical College is a public institution. It is funded by taxpayers and supported by donors who trust that the contribution advance education, not finance preventable lawsuit settlements or the consequence of unlawful employment practices. Public funds must never be used to defend action that leadership knew were unjust. This concern is not new. In December 2024, I addressed the board regarding a female employee who had filed multiple formal complaints while she was on approved FMLA leave. Her position was eliminated, effectively terminated her employment. That decision raised serious ethical and legal concerns. In September 2025, a female librarian who has been performing full-time duties as a full-time LTE applied for a permanent position she was already effectively doing. Instead, HR hired an outside candidate with less experience. She was now offered a return to her prior full-time role and was left unemployed. This reflects not only poor judgment, but failure of basic fairness and stewardship. More recently, another female employee disclosed that she was ill and taking prescribed medication with known side effects. After being found asleep at work, she was brought into a fact-finding process that could have led to termination. Rather than first offering ADA accommodation information, engaging in the legal requirements interactive process, or responding with basic empathy, she was placed on a disciplinary track. The psychological distress became so significant that she ultimately requested early retirement. These 3 cases involve white women. This demonstrates that the issue before us is not confined to race alone. Women across race, age, and role are being harmed under the current administration on our watch. This is not a leadership, this is harmful. In September 2025, 5 employees, publicly known as the 4+1, were terminated. 4 women and 1 man, all from protected group. The removal had ripple effect throughout the institution. Fear, silence, disengagement, and erosion of trust. The cases I have mentioned are not isolated cases. They are examples. There are many more employees who have experienced retaliation, intimidation, marginalization, and procedures irregulations. What the public sees is only a fraction of what is currently happening internally. Therefore, I am asking you directly, reinstate the 5 terminated employees, restore the lost wages and benefits, commit publicly to an independent review of employment practices, ensure that anti-retaliation protection are honored, not only written policy, but in a daily practices. If the board is unwilling to correct action that have caused documented psychological and financial harm, then I respectfully ask you to reflect on whether continue serving align with your moral responsibilities. Leadership requires moral courage, especially when correction is uncomfortable. The community is watching. Do what is right. Thank you.
Thank you. The next agenda item is approval of the minutes. May I have a motion for approval?
I move approval.
Yeah.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, we're moving on to the consent agenda items. May I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
I so move.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions on the consent agenda items?
Madam Chair, could you elaborate a little bit more about the Shakota Scholarship? please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So Dr. Cruz, pursuant to his designated authority from the board, has committed the college to a further partnership with Ellen and Joe Chakota to establish the second Ellen and Joe Chakota Scholarship Program. With MATC's committed contribution of up to $5 million to the second scholarship program through annual contributions totaling no more than $1 million and contributions to the second scholarship program from the Chakota family and other donors, the hope is to create a combined fund of up to $15 million over the next few years. This commitment by Dr. Cruz and the college illustrates the college's continued support of this partnership and the college's commitment to the second Ellen and Joe Chakota MATC Scholarship Program.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions on any consent agenda items? Go ahead. Good.
So, Madam Chair,
Mhm.
yeah, I had asked a question about this just for clarity
Sure.
to understand where, because there's 3 pieces of this. So there's a match from the foundation and a match from MATC from existing funds, I assume. So,
Yes.
where do those funds come from? I just think it's important for us to just get a sense of where those funds come from and then how do they get applied?
Can I call on Paul to help answer that question?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Madam Director. The agreement has the 3 pieces you mentioned, and so the funds from Chakota as well as the funds from the foundation will be put into a designated fund here at the college under our control. The matching funds from the college will be using existing resources. They will not be using anything out of our operating fund or anything that affects our annual funding. We can't use any of the state funding or tax funding or any of that for this purpose. So we will be providing the match that was mentioned of up to $1 million over that period, per year over that period, to the same designated fund, and we will be creating what that disbursement method looks like here at the college. Does that answer your question?
Sort of. It doesn't come out of general funds.
That is
It comes out of an enterprise fund, another savings that we have?
Other existing resources. So one source of funding would be the existing fund that provides some other scholarship support that we already draw from for existing scholarships for things like the Promise Scholarship. There's some book scholarships, some course material scholarships, and some others out of that fund. So that very same funding we're already using for scholarship purpose.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
That sounds appropriate, and it wouldn't, then we wouldn't be drawing away from resources that we're using for students. I think that was the main question. Is
Yes, that is correct.
It's taking from a separate pot, but not from something that would impact other students not engaged in the Chakota scholarship.
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Thank you. Any other questions on any other consent agenda items? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion by Dr. Najib, a second by Director Pence. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all opposed? Perfect. All right, our next agenda item is resolution F 0393-02-26, authorizing the sale of 1.5 million general obligation promissory notes, series 2025-2026 I of the Milwaukee Area Technical College District of Wisconsin. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, may I have Justin Fisher, please?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So this one will be pretty quick today. So what I'll do is I'll just run through the usual presentation results and answer any questions if you have any. So this is the series 2025-26 I. We went out for the sale this morning and received 6 bids. With the low bid by Raymond James of 2.37%. So last month we were at 2.50%. So we continue to see kind of that trend of the shorter term interest rates come down a little bit. We were at 275, I think 250, and now 237. So it is trending, continuing to trend lower, which is great for the borrowing purposes. This is the general obligation promissory notes 25-26 I, amount of $1,500,000, closing March 16th of 2026. Maturities June 1, 27 to 30. First interest being June 1, 2026. Call date non-callable. Rating was affirmed at the AA1 level by Moody's, and the low bid at 2.37 by Raymond James. Next page 4. This is the long-term financing illustration that we continually update month over month. The rates continue to come in better than what we're projecting, which makes the whole plan come together very nicely. So we're on track with everything that we've laid out in there. A couple more financings remaining in this fiscal year before we transition over to the next fiscal year in this plan. Last couple pages, no real change in the rating report. Other than the series at this point.
Thank you. Any questions on this agenda item? Okay. Could I have a voice call?
Director Foley,
I'm sorry. Aye.
Director Mindy Ackerman,
Aye.
Director Norma Kunde, please let us know if he's on Emily 10, so I'll mark him as excused.
Okay.
Director Najib,
Aye.
Director Pence,
Aye.
Director Baker, Director Tate.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Next agenda item is resolution F 03940226, authorizing issuance of 1.5 general obligation promissory notes, series 2025-2026 J of Milwaukee Area Technical College District, Wisconsin. May I have a motion?
I move approval.
Thank you. In a second? Second. Thank you. All right. Any questions on this one? Okay, may I have a
Roll call vote.
roll call vote? Sorry. Oh, that would throw you off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you asked for an oral vote.
I said voice. My apologies.
And I was sort of stuck in.
Wait, what?
Yes.
All right, roll call, please. Thank you.
Director Maria.
Aye.
Director Marma Kunde. Director Najib.
Aye.
Director Pence.
Aye.
Director Baker.
Aye.
Director Foley.
Aye.
Director Kate.
Aye. Thank you. All right. And then our next agenda item is resolution F 395 2 6 to approve the single audit report. May I have a motion, please?
I move approval.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Welcome. All right.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. We should have our audit partner from Baker Tilly virtual. You see him on screen, Mr. Paul Franz. And so this has been an unusual audit season. It's the third time we've had Baker Tilly with us just because of the oddness of the schedule of getting the single audit done, which was really due to the guidance from the federal government. But I'm stepping on Paul's lines here. So Mr. Franz, if you could kind of take the lead on presenting a single audit, please.
Sure. Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for having me. We have presented updates along the board schedule here the last 2 months. My associate Basti was with you last month and shared the draft results. Happy to note today that everything is issued in final related to that single audit, and that no changes were made since the original draft and last conversation. The college received an unmodified opinion, otherwise known as a clean bill of health, on the single audit, and happy to answer any remaining questions that you may have for us, but happy to put behind the June 30, 2025 audit season for MATC.
Are there any questions on the audit? All right. I think we are good then. So may I have a roll call vote, right?
Director Marma Kunde is excluded. Director Najib.
Aye.
Director Pence.
Aye.
Director Baker.
Aye.
Director Foley.
Aye.
Director Minio-Toreno.
Aye.
Director Kate.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Just like to remind the board and also those attending that with your approval and acceptance of the audit, it becomes a public document. We'll upload this at our website, also provided to accrediting agencies, to the federal government and such. And we are in place to get all that done following today. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to the chairperson's report. So early this month, I attended the Association of Community College Trustees National Legislative Summit in Washington, D.C., along with Directors Foley and Pence. The National Legislative Summit informs community college leaders on federal policy issues that impact post-secondary institutions and students. It also provides the opportunity for trustees to meet with congressional representatives and their staff to advocate for community colleges. Would Director Foley and/or Pence like to report on the summit?
I think we did very well. I think we did well. We changed up our song and dance routine as we were talking to different people. I think the three of us did well with our combined experiences, and it was, I think we were effective. So
I think we'll see if we were effective. I think Director Pence is correct that the difference in our backgrounds, size of institutions that we have grown up in and work in, meant that there was always somebody talking to a willing listener.
Mhm.
And that hasn't always been the case in the past. So I think it went well. But we shall see what happens with funding.
I would agree. I think we were provided with background on each of the elected officials' votes and kind of what their focus areas were, and we were able to plan accordingly and speak based on things that were important to them. So
One of the things that I have thought some years makes it difficult for the participants in this side is that the information from WTCS that is used about how many students there are in the system and all sorts of information that they provide, that they don't provide it until about 4 or 5 days before we all get on an airplane to leave. And I've asked them if next year they could do it, say 2 weeks in advance, because almost nothing changes in that particular time period. So they're looking at that for next year.
And I would add that we had some MATC specific documentation that was very well received and very helpful in our communication. So thank you very much to the team for helping with that.
I was gonna mention the same thing. We supported as well,
Yeah.
and we had what we needed.
Who did you meet with?
We met with
Senator Baldwin's always the easy one.
we met with Senator Baldwin, Gwen Moore's educational staff, Brian Steele's education.
He was in and out.
Yeah, and he popped in and said hi to us as well. Grothman. Fitzgerald. Yep. Is that everybody?
Johnson.
Johnson, yeah.
Met with Johnson's staff.
His staff. And so Baldwin and Johnson was the entire state group, so it was a bit of a larger group for everybody. The rest we met with individually. So I think those were a bit more robust, personalized conversations where we were able to tap into this MATC specific information. But I have to say that like Gwen Moore's educational staff, even Brian Steele's, they were very well versed in what was pending and all of the acronyms that we had, but yeah.
Well, let me just add, and I don't know who prepared it, but somebody on our staff gave us a sheet of 30 sets of acronyms and what not only what the name of the statute is, but what it was about.
Yeah.
And one young staffer that we met with, I said, would this be helpful to you? And his eyes opened wide and said, oh yeah.
I think it was like, what, 4 weeks on the job?
Yeah, 4 weeks on the job.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so it was very, very helpful.
And I know Director Pence has done follow-up. I'm not sure if you have, yes.
I did follow up with Gwen Moore's educational staff. She had specific questions around a couple of funding topics, so I did provide. So thank you to the team again for quick responses on that. But yeah, and then the general thank yous that were sent out. So thank you for that as well. All right. We have a half-day board retreat on Friday, February 27th, starting at 8 a.m. It will be held in the boardroom at the downtown MATC campus. The agenda includes discussions on board finance, updates to the accreditation standard, ERP modernization, and parliamentary procedures. Additionally, the retreat will feature a short team building exercise and a tour of downtown campus's new spaces. I promise it's not an HR team building.
It'll be very focused.
It is not 2 truths and a lie, I promise. Hey, it will get us up on our feet and exploring, so be good. Board appointments for the replacement board positions. A public hearing of the MATC District Board Appointment Committee was held on February 13th at the downtown campus district boardroom to appoint replacement board positions for the school district administrator and additional member. Dr. Catrice Cotton was appointed to represent the board position of school district administrator. Dr. Catrice Cotton is currently serving as the superintendent of the school district of Brown Deer. With a career spanning 37 years, she has developed expertise in strategic planning, budgetary oversight, and K-12 organizational leadership. Charlotte Hazlett, did I pronounce that correctly? Hazlett? Was appointed as an additional member. Ms. Hazlett currently serves as the chairwoman of the Board of Commissioners for the Housing Authority of the City of Milwaukee and is the founder of Professionally Me Consulting, where she advises businesses on scalable workforce practices. Board appointments for expiring board positions. A public hearing of the MATC District Board Appointment Committee was held on February 13th at the downtown campus district boardroom to appoint board positions for expiring members for school district administrator, employer member with 15+ employees, and employer member with 15+ employees in manufacturing. Dr. Catrice Cotton was appointed to represent the board position of school district administrator. Dr. Waleed Najib was appointed to represent employer member with 15+ employees. Our candidate for the employer member with 15+ employees manufacturing withdrew from consideration and a new search is underway. That concludes my reports. Director Foley, do you have a district board's report?
Just very briefly, the day after our last board meeting, we had the winter meeting of the District Boards Association. Every member of a board of directors of a tech college is automatically a member of the District Boards Association. So there are 144 members. 76 people attended remotely in that particular program, which may be the highest number ever. So there is renewed interest across the state in the DBA and what it can do. This was an educational program for the most part. And the new executive director takes over on March 1st. So we're expecting new energy and new ideas. And we're going to continue to have both in-person and remote only meetings so that we can have as many meetings as we think we need to have, but by reducing costs.
Nice. Has the new executive director's name been publicly announced yet?
You know, I don't know that it's been officially announced.
Okay.
I think I told you last time who it was, but I think we'll wait until the official announcement goes out. I
Okay.
don't know.
But we have an accepted offer.
Yes,
Perfect.
And you're happy?
yes.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, before you move on from your report, to echo something that Director Foley said about materials from WTCS. I realize how difficult it is getting things together for the board meeting, but there are often times where we receive materials like on the day of or the day before, and it is difficult. And I think I was making jokes earlier, but I really did just come in from out of town last night. It made it really hard to kind of have enough time to look at things. So if we could bend every effort to try, there are some things which really should just be attached to our agenda because they really should be public information, not just sent to board members, but even the background things that just board members get, if we could get a little earlier, it's super helpful.
Yes, absolutely.
If you can look into that.
I will definitely look into that. Thank you very much. All right, next up is the president's report.
Well, thank you and good afternoon, everyone. So February has been a very busy month here at MATC, and we've been coming together to celebrate Black History Month. And we kicked off the month with a community luncheon, an impactful I Need a Minute virtual session, which provided dedicated space for Black men to discuss mental health. The following week, we kept the momentum going with a focus on wellness and growth, featuring everything from campus blood drive and sound therapy to an evening networking mixer at the downtown campus here as well. Third week, we highlighted healthy living and campus spirit with a school-wide t-shirt day. And we're going to wrap up the month on February 26th with Cultural Attire Day, a chance for everyone to share their heritage through traditional dress, followed by our annual Black History Month banquet. On February 6th, at our Oak Creek campus, co-hosted a successful MAC Council of Small Business Roundtable event with Director Gail Pence.
Oh, yes.
You were there, right?
I was there.
You were
Yes, that's my group.
It's your group. So this was a fantastic opportunity really to have influential business leaders on our campus to see our labs and our eCam facility. The feedback was excellent, showcasing our high-level technical training programs to the very people that are hiring our students, right, when they graduate from our program. So it's really great to see all those employers engage and learn more about the things that we're doing here at MATC. So I want to thank Director Pence for his leadership and partnering with us to host this event and for helping bridge the gap between our classrooms and the local businesses. So thank you very much. Do you want to say anything about that event?
Just for context, and I was going to also mention this when we get to the some of the advisory committees, is the scope of the Cosby groups. There's 44 groups of like 10 to 12 people in that, and then there's some other specific like food and beverage, and there's other specific groups within there. So it could be something that we could use for both, you know, the advisory councils, and anytime you can give somebody a tour, it's positive.
Good thing.
So
Yeah. Well, thank you. thank you for doing that and helping us with that. And again, we can expand that to other industries, right? That'd be great. So thank you. On February 6th, our downtown campus hosted a memorable naturalization ceremony. I was honored to welcome the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Office, representatives from the U.S. District Court from the Eastern District of Wisconsin, and new citizens and their families. Great day of celebration for them as they actually took their oaths and received their certificates and other things that happened that day. So really great. The ceremony was led by U.S. Magistrate Judge Nancy Joseph, which actually shared with her own story of coming here as a child, and the things that she went through, and then just the privilege of going through the things, and when she became a U.S. citizen. So it was great to have her be the one that led that ceremony, and who administered the oath, of allegiance to the new citizens. And we concluded the naturalization process for immigration for over 31 people from 31 countries. So it's really great to see the representation. She went around the Cooley Auditorium and asked people to, called out the countries they were from, and they were identified. And so it was very nice. So I want to have special thanks to Veronica Torres and Annette Velez for coordinating this really successful event here at the downtown campus. And we hope to have these events in the future. They're normally at the courthouse when they actually administer the oath. But the magistrate was very, very willing to have us, do it here. And I think that's a great thing for us to have it at the campus and be able to share in this great moment for those individuals that were part of that ceremony. On February 9th, we presented the second annual Jamar Shaw Scholarship to MATC entrepreneurship student Kaylin Harris here at the downtown campus. The scholarship was established in the memory of Jamar Shaw by his mother, Katina Shaw, and the League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC Council 333, to honor Jamar's legacy. The Shaw family and LULAC Council 333 joined to establish these funds, working together to support the educational dreams of our local youth. I was able to join in their ceremony and the presentation of the award by Katina Shaw. She works for the Milwaukee Brewers. And then we also had LULAC Council President Elia Salinas that also joined us for the ceremony. So that was very nice to have that here in the boardroom just a few weeks ago. Our Asian Affinity Group held the Lunar New Year celebration on February 17th. Does anybody know what the new lunar year is?
Here's the horse.
Correct. The horse, correct. So we celebrated that here on our campus with faculty, staff, and students in the community. Activities included Chinese calligraphy and some other things that we did, little games that were played. And the event also included Korean handbook designs and unique New Year desserts. So it was a great time to spend with our students, faculty, and staff in celebrating the new lunar year. I'm pleased to report my recent appointment to the executive committee of the board of directors for the Wisconsin Public Policy Forum. This is a nonpartisan organization, plays a vital role in state by conducting independent, in-depth research on critical public policy issues and providing objective analysis to policymakers, community leaders, and the public. I'm very honored by this. I've been part of the board now for about a year, but was able to now, was selected to join the executive committee starting immediately. So I really look forward to that. Our Career Hub hosted a Career Fair Editions fashion show on February 18th here at the downtown campus and our student lounge. And the goal of the event was to boost student confidence and provide practical fashion advice for them as they transition from campus to their careers. The presentation covered the do's and don'ts of professional attire and demonstrated appropriate clothing for various professional environments. Really great event. I would say it was one of the best events that I've seen here at MATC in my 18 months because of the involvement. Not only we have the students that participated as, they dressed up and participated in the fashion show, but we had great participation from students. Dr. King and I got to be judges And, but it was really great because it wasn't just about all of them dressing appropriately, right? So it was basically they came out, some students were dressed to the T, some needed some help. And so we got the crowd involved in actually pointing out the things that they needed to work on in order to really dress for success. So it was a great exercise. Our individuals from the Career Hub did an excellent job in orchestrating and executing on this wonderful event. And I think, and this is really something that's going to prepare our students for the upcoming career fair that's coming up. So getting them ready, making sure that they have the clothing and attire that they need to be successful. We're also opening our career closet, which will, through our Student Resource Center, which will help our students not only know what they need to wear, but actually get some free outfits that they can wear to those interviews, whether it be for jobs or for internships. So really great opportunity for our students, and hopefully we can build on that and be something that we'll see more of in the future. On February 20th, the MATC Foundation facilitated a strategic visit with the General Council of Germany. This meeting, which included key leaders from Workforce Solutions, institutional effectiveness focused on advancing education and workforce development initiatives that directly benefit our students and the Milwaukee community. I want to thank Dr. Jennifer Michele, Executive Director of Institutional Effectiveness and Research, Dr. John Knapp, Director of Workforce Solutions, Steve Hurrow, Associate Dean and Project Manager of MATC Drive Programs, Naomi Pollock, Corporate and Employer Partnership Officer of MATC Foundation, for all their efforts in putting this together on a very short notice. We found out just a few days before that the Consul General was going to be in Milwaukee. He's actually out of Chicago. And so we were able to get the group together and listen and see how we can work with the German government and making sure that we can provide better opportunities for industry here in the Milwaukee area. Really great news on the athletic front as well. So our MATC Stormers men's basketball team has just wrapped up an incredible season once again, and now is heading to the Region 4 tournament. The Stormers are currently on a 20-game winning streak, and they ended the regular season at 27-3. The team is ranked number 5 in the nation, and they will be hosting Region 4 semifinals this Thursday evening at Alverno College, February 26th at 7 p.m. versus Prairie State College at Alverno. So again, this Thursday coming up at 7 p.m., we'll be hosting that first round of the Region 4 semifinal. So we look forward to that and cheering on our men's basketball team. And our MATC women's basketball team will also begin postseason play this week. And they'll be competing in the Region 4 Women's Basketball Division II District Tournament hosted by Rock Valley College. And MATC earned the number 10 seed in the 16-team combined bracket and will open on the road against number 7 Oakton at 5:30 tomorrow. So both our basketball teams are in the Region 4 tournament, and we're very proud of what they do, not only on the court, which they've had successful seasons, and hopefully we'll get even further, and hopefully we'll come back next time and say they won the national title, but also what they do in the classroom and in the community. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Okay, then we'll move on to the treasurer's report.
After that, this will be boring. So, our OPEB Trust Committee met on February 4th. PFM provided an update related to fiduciary oversight of the FCC and the OPEB Trust, including financial monitoring and market conditions. The committee reviewed financial considerations relevant to long-term benefit obligations and trust sustainability. Our focus was on monitoring fees. We had a very long conversation on the fee structure on a lot of the alternative investments. And with that, the committee, and with Dr. Cruz's permission, the alternative investment vehicles were discussed, and based on the fees charged, liquidity accounting management. So there's a lot of there's a lot of extra work that I feel that we all felt that accounting is doing on this, that we're gonna let some of these kind of slide off over time and maybe get down to a 15% level of the alternative investments. In this day and age, we kind of felt there were more ETFs and things that would cover those types of investments that would get us the same return and also not as much fees. We looked at, if we spend this amount of fees during the up markets, the opportunity costs we're missing on the fees we're paying offset that, and again, with all the account management that we have to do with accounting. Meeting complied with the open meetings law, no public comments were presented. Next, FCC OPEB trust is in, May. I also had the opportunity to sit on the Foundation's Finance Committee. I was very impressed with the level of detail that they have as they are working through all of the things that they do. I was very impressed.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for?
I'd just like to add that there are other institutions whose investment portfolios I see, and one of those happens to be Yale University, which is where they started this movement toward alternative investments, and they are also ratcheting down substantially this looked into their portfolios, and for the same reasons you just articulated, that the administrative costs and fees to keep up with those often are so large that they wipe out over time the intended expert returns.
So we're going to take on the MATC model.
Yeah, absolutely. You want me to take it back to them?
Yeah, so I'll show them how to do it.
Fee, can we get a commission-based fee program with them? All right, thank you so much. Any other questions for Director Pence? Yep, and we'll move on to our district student senate report.
Good evening.
Mhm.
Chair Chase, Dr. Cruz, members of the district board, administration, and college community. My name is William Musoke. I serve as governor of Wisconsin Student Government for Milwaukee Area Technical College. It's an honor to present the February 2026 update on student engagement and campus activities across MATC. I'm delivering this report on behalf of the DSA chairperson, Mrs. Calixto, who was unable to attend in person. Throughout February, MATC campuses demonstrated strong student participation in cultural programming, career readiness initiatives, civic engagement, and community impactful efforts. This month began with Roaring Start, a kickstart for Black History Month on February 2nd. And students, faculty, and staff came together to celebrate culture, history, and community, creating meaningful dialogue and reinforcing MATC's commitment to diversity, inclusion, and representation. This commitment was further reflected through a series of West African luncheons held across campuses, beginning with the West Alice campus, continuing to the Mequon campus, Oak Creek, with the downtown campus scheduled to host a soul food luncheon. These events fostered cultural awareness and strengthened campus connection. On February 6th, MATC hosted a federal naturalization ceremony, welcoming 107 new United States citizens representing 31 countries. This powerful event highlighted MATC's role not only as an educational institution, but also as a vital community anchor. Students held and had an opportunity to witness civic engagement firsthand and reflect on the importance of access, opportunity, and belonging. Career readiness and workforce preparation. On February 18th, MATC officially launched the Career Closet, providing students with free access to professional attire for interviews, internships, and career fairs. The opening featured a professional fashion show and an educational component focused on interview readiness and workplace presentation. This initiative removes financial barriers and directly supports students' career advancement. Although the career and internship fair will take place on March 4th, February was filled with preparatory activities. Students actively participated in resume workshops, interview preparation sessions, and other career development opportunities to ensure readiness for employer engagement. These efforts demonstrate strong student initiative towards workforce placement. On the side of civic engagement and legislative advocacy, 20 MATC students participated in Wisconsin Student Government Legislative Seminar, where the governor himself, Tony Evers, attended in person. Students met with their respective legislators at the Wisconsin Student State Capitol to advocate for the 3 major WSG priorities. These included recurring funding for open education resources, expand funding and support for career services, and expanding Wisconsin grants. These priorities directly impact students right from the start of enrollment to graduation. For example, the OER supports and reduces costs of textbooks. It expands the ability of students, giving them a chance to learn and also reduce the burden of them paying for extra fees besides school fees. Expanded career services strengthen internship and employment outcomes. And increased grant funding helps close financial gaps that affect student persistence and completion. This advocacy ensured that MATC students' voices were represented at the state level. On March 4th, the Career and Internship Fair will bring employers and industry partners to campus, allowing students to apply the skills developed during the February preparations workshop in real time. March will also emphasize midterm academic support with increased visibility of tutoring services, student sessions, and time management workshops to help students stay on track as coursework intensifies. Student orgs will continue hosting general body meetings, leadership development sessions, and collaborative programming aimed at strengthening campus belonging and peer engagement. Additionally, planning will continue for spring engagement initiatives designed to maintain strong student participation throughout the remainder of the semester. February reflected active student engagement across cultural celebration, civic participation, and career readiness. As we move into March, the focus remains on sustaining momentum, supporting student success, and continuing to strengthen the MATC campus community. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
What brought you to MATC? What are you taking? Tell us a little bit about your story. I want to hear it.
Thank you. I do cybersecurity. Though sometimes I wonder why.
You'll always be busy.
It's somewhat boring, a little bit boring, and it engages me into problem solving. That's the bit that I love about it. Sometimes the solitude that I usually have with it bores me a lot, but it is a necessary evil. What brought me to MATC, there are 2 major reasons. One was the price of the tuition. When you compare prices of universities and technical college systems, you definitely realize the difference. And so that's one. 2, the accessibility of the school itself. My auntie lives in Cedarburg, and my uncle lives in Glendale, where I lived initially, and it's only 9 minutes from my home to here. So I could either walk, run, take a bus, ride a bike, anything would be possible for me to reach school. So those are the major two reasons. And then, of course, the abilities and the opportunities that I realized eventually when I joined MATC built up a bigger reason for me to stay. Because initially I graduated in computer help desk under the Chakora Scholarship. And now I had to come back to do cybersecurity, given those very many other opportunities, like the different other scholarships you have been talking about. And, you know, all this, and also the leadership too. I'm part of student government. I've been able to go for leadership conferences to learn about leadership. So it enables me to exercise my innate abilities to serve community, my school, and also the students as well.
Thank you.
Pretty great.
Thank you.
Great job, William.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions for William? Thank you so much. Okay, moving on, is our legislative update, right, I believe Ramey's online.
I'm online. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. I appreciate the flexibility for participation this evening, and I hope to see you all in person soon. You should have at your table a handout with a number of items on the legislative front specific to state legislation in particular. And so for purposes of the update this evening, recognizing that the state legislature is near adjournment, I wanted to go over a couple of the bills just to flag them because they have been moving through the process. Others at this point in the process will not make it over the finish line, and so then will not be considered whether, to be signed into law or vetoed by the governor, and will need to be reintroduced next January. But first, starting at the top, wanting to share with the board this evening, in the state budget, in the current state budget, there was some earmarked funding for EMS education, right around $10 million. 7 million of those dollars were earmarked to support the technical college system in the form of grants to technical colleges to support EMS courses. And so those dollars have been released by the Joint Finance Committee. They need to work through the system process for the grants to reach each individual college. I did learn at our last legislative task force meeting that I believe colleges have been notified of the award. I don't have that number in front of me, but if someone's in the room, and certainly, feel free to add that or correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe colleges have been notified of the dollars that they would be seeking, that they would be receiving from that provision in the state budget. And then still we're waiting for HEAB to put forward their plan, which would provide for $3.5 million to support training and material costs that are incurred for EMS training by employers and students. So that's still pending. So those dollars have not yet been released because the plan needs to be submitted to the Joint Finance Committee. So one short budget specific update there for you this evening. Moving on to state legislation, as I indicated, the legislature is near adjournment. The state assembly adjourned on last Friday evening. The state Senate is scheduled to be on the floor at least one more time before they're expected to adjourn. So what that means is, while the assembly can certainly come back in either at the call of the governor in special session or bring themselves back in an extraordinary session, for the most part, any legislation that has not made it through the state assembly will need to be reintroduced in January. Starting at the top, I'm not going to go through every single bill, but I just want to highlight a few of them. First, Assembly Bill 102. So this would require the UW system and technical college system to designate sports and athletic teams based on the sex of participants. That has passed both houses, so that will be sent to the governor for his consideration, whether to veto or sign that bill into law. So that has passed both chambers. Moving down the list, previously vetoed in December, AB 166. This would require the technical college system and UW system to provide certain data points to HEAB, the Higher Education Aids Board, data on degree programs, popularity of degree programs, salaries, costs, etc. The governor vetoed that, stating that first and foremost, it was a further mandate without additional funding to support that mandate, but also there was already some existing overlap with federal requirements and other reporting that higher education institutions already do. So sharing that for your information, that did pass both houses, but was vetoed by the governor in December. Moving down to Assembly Bill 486. This bill relates to financial aid reductions for individuals who receive a private scholarship of less than $5,000. As I understand, the legislators who introduced this bill, it's a result of a constituent contacting their office. The individual had received, I believe, a scholarship from Rotary or something like that. And then as a result, they saw their financial aid package reduced. That has passed one house. It has not passed the state Senate. It did pass the state assembly. So we'll see if the Senate will take up the bill. It did get referred to the Senate Standing Committee there. Most committees are done meeting. And I do know that, again, institutions of higher education have raised some concern about this just because of some conflict with other requirements as it relates to financial aid. So we'll see if that moves through the final process into the governor's office. But organizations have communicated some concern specific to that bill should it get over the finish line and be sent to the governor. Assembly Bill 582. We've seen this bill before. It's a rather complex bill, so I won't go into all of the details, and certainly probably would require some more legal expertise to go through those details. But if you're interested, I can certainly share the bill itself with the board. But the bill would essentially codify some language into law specific to free speech, academic freedom, etc. There are some concerns there that it conflicts with constitutionality of other things. And certainly, I think institutions of higher ed have shared that, they feel like the current system is working and, there's no need to sort of add this layer of complexity through this legislation. That said, it has passed both chambers, and so it will be sent to the governor for his consideration. And I think, again, there have been numerous concerns raised, and so I never want to speak for the governor without getting confirmation, of course, but I think that he'll take a serious look at this and probably share some of the concerns specific to this bill. Assembly Bill 582, it would create a council for dual enrollment, just to sort of simplify what the bill does. Doesn't provide additional funding, which is what we know we really need in that space. But the intent is to sort of streamline the dual enrollment programs now and the understanding of dual enrollment and kind of figuring out what's needed, how to improve the program, how to ensure access, etc. So that has passed the Assembly, and the Senate will still need to consider that. So that bill is still alive, as we would say, and potentially able to move through that final chamber before the governor would consider action on the bill. I'm going to skip, not because they're not important or relevant, a couple of the bills here. I think important to be informed of them. They were introduced sort of as a larger package specific to kind of transparency concerns related to for-profit colleges, among other concerns. The bills have bill numbers. They never received a hearing, so they're not moving through the process at all. They'll have to be reintroduced, but again, just wanted to include them on the report for your information because I think it is important information to be aware of, specific to some practices of for-profit colleges in particular. And I know in our area in particular, we've had some concerns and issues there. So I won't go through each individual bill, but just wanted to make sure you were aware of each proposal. Assembly Bill 750. This bill relates to admissions of students in technical college programs in the public safety space, so fire EMS. Again, this was brought forward by some police chiefs, fire chiefs concerned about wait lists and not being able to get individuals into programs. The bill has passed the assembly. Essentially, what it would allow for is a technical college, if they choose to, they can have a policy on preference and admission to reserve some spots for individuals as long as the individual the employer is in the technical college district. So you know, it kind of works around current technical college system rules, if you will. You know, I know that the technical college system has shared some concerns about kind of that preferential treatment within this particular program area. So again, has passed the assembly, so the bill still has some legs, could potentially move through the Senate. We've deferred to, we did get some feedback on this internally, and we've kind of been deferring to the technical college system on this because I think feedback is mixed, right? Most people understand the intent and the reason for this bill and the importance, but at the same time, it sort of sets a precedent that can be potentially concerning. So we've deferred to the technical college system on this one. And then, let's see, I've just lost my place here for AB 669. This is a bill passed by both houses, and so it will be considered by the governor. This would change race-based higher education programs as defined in current law to programs for disadvantaged students. And so there's a definition of what, you know, a disadvantaged student, how a disadvantaged student would be defined, and essentially would keep all the various programs in statute, but make clear that, you know, not able to consider a student's race or ethnicity, et cetera, in making those awards and decisions. So that overlaps with the Higher Education Aids Board, certain programs within the technical college system, on minority student participation and retention plans, minority teacher loan program under HEAB, et cetera. So that has passed both houses and will be considered by the governor as well. So that is the state update, just specific to some legislation that I wanted to just very briefly share with all of you. As I indicated, the Assembly has adjourned. The Senate is still working toward their last calendar day, which is expected to be probably March 17th. I'm sure all of you have also seen the headlines about sort of a tax relief, property tax relief or tax relief and education package that legislative leadership in both houses, as well as the governor, they're still trying to find some consensus on. That issue is still very much alive at this point. And even though the Assembly has adjourned, they can come in into an extraordinary session, bringing themselves in, or at the call of the governor if they choose to. And so I do expect that that may produce a consensus product that could provide some property tax relief, as well as some funding in the K-12 education space. So higher education, at least right now, has not been part of that conversation, but there's a fairly substantial surplus. And so there's a desire to try to use some of that to address some property tax relief, as well as make K-12 a little bit more whole in certain areas, just given some of the lack of funding in the current state budget. So the goal is to get something done. Certainly things can fall off pretty quickly in politics. So I think folks are feeling very positive right now that something can get done, but still to be determined. But I would expect if a consensus is found that the legislature will come in, both houses, and pass something in hopes that the governor will sign it. If a deal is not met, I would still expect that they'll probably pass something, just to have a vote on that. And then the governor would have to determine what he would want to do. And then federal update, you know, as we know, every day is a little bit different at the federal level. I know some of you were recently out in DC. I don't have a lot of new information to share. I included the ACCT report at the bottom of the report, just an update on some more budget specific items. But other than that, very simple federal update for you this evening. And then last, I just want to mention that March 2nd, so this coming Monday, we have our legislative breakfast at Oak Creek. The MATC team has done a really good job of getting that ready for elected officials, and we're trying to get as much turnout as possible for that event. And with that, I will complete my report and find out if there are any questions.
One quick question. Can you remind me on dual enrollment, was there something about going from 11th grade down to 9th or something, or where is that?
I will have to look at the bill because I don't have the answer for you off the top of my head. So if you don't mind, I can send an email I don't want to give you an inaccurate
Okay.
answer. I'll have to pull up the bill.
Any other questions for Rainey? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have board monitoring. So we're gonna review the board self-evaluation instrument, board policy A0106-03. Do we have a copy of this, or are we just attached? Okay. All right. So we did delay this topic a bit until after the technical board associations had their discussions on it. So not sure if anybody has any immediate feedback or thoughts on it. Mark, I'm not sure if you attended the.
I did not.
Okay.
I do have a question
Yeah.
about this, though. I think we ask ourselves questions here, which, are not quite right.
Okay.
I was gonna try to characterize them as one thing in particular, but I can't quite do that. Let me just give you a couple of examples.
Okay.
Question one, the board ensures a relevant college mission and vision that is responsive to students in the community. If that means anything other than we've adopted a mission and vision statement, what does it mean? Is that it? Then if that's it, then there's probably no point in asking this question because it's quite obvious, right? And we
Mhm.
just completed a strategic planning process. So what is it that we're really trying to get at there? One other one that struck me in particular. It's a question I can't quite read on here right now, but it has to do with reviewing, I'm sorry, it's number 8, reviewing appropriate WTCS reports. What reports are we talking about? If we can't say, then I don't think we can answer this question, and we have to ask ourselves, why do we have this here? So at least those two, I think, need a little further thought or fleshing out.
Any other comments, responses to Director Foley? Go ahead.
You know, a number of these reflect what I think I'm hearing, because the level we're at of decision-making is to sort of approve activities, make sure that those activities are in alignment. It's a relatively high level of engagement, where some of this makes it like, hey, are you doing this and are you doing that? And so, maybe it's time for us to just take this language and have the language actually reflect, this. I don't know where this document's origin is, but certainly over the years, the role of the board has changed and has gone from, like a 2,500 level foot to maybe a 5,000 foot. And in the course of that, this language may not have reflected that change. And so maybe we need to re-examine that. I mean, I struggle with it as I'm looking through it for exactly the same reason. It's like, and maybe we need to have a couple people sit down and just clean that up.
This did come originally from
Yeah, we had, the last time we did a cleanup of this, we had taken the HLC requirements for boards and tried to have the questions reflect whether or not you're doing that, so we could use it as evidence in the next accreditation file. But I know there are updates to accreditation that we'll talk about maybe on Friday. So, it might be time for a revamp of this.
I think that would also be helpful if we could understand which one of these questions are directly related to accreditation.
Actually, they all are.
Topics
Yeah.
specifically, like that we're using as evidence, and if we've got any flexibility to adjust, because I would agree, I think there's some of these, right? Like the TCS question, right? Should we understand the state requirements? Probably. I'm not sure what reviewing appropriate reports means, right? Do we have access to information as needed, and are we doing that? I think that some of these are worded a little oddly. I agree with you, depending on what we're trying to get to.
I would suggest that we postpone reconsideration of this
Yeah.
until we have the presentations on Friday.
Yep.
About accreditation, because that should affect our evaluation of our own activities.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, this was brought to us just as monitoring, not as an action. item
Correct.
Tonight, so we were.
Right,
really just
right.
Reviewing.
Yes.
So maybe based on the conversation on
Yeah.
Friday, if we want to have like a subgroup of a couple people, then
Mhm.
sit down and.
Yep. And go through it and collect
Yeah.
feedback and just.
So that we feel that we're actually reflecting.
Yeah.
The board's role and work.
Well, and some of these are very like yes or no kind of questions, like number 6, the district board approves and monitors the facilities plan. Yes. Yes. So could that be worded differently to get to the intent of it? Yeah. So if there's no other immediate, I think we can take this. I would ask that everybody, if you've not already, review it in advance of our discussion on Friday. And then after that, we can, I think, create a plan of action to collect feedback and changes. Does that work for everybody? Seeing nodding all over, so, okay. And we are good then to move on, right? We don't have anything else. It was just monitoring. Okay. So moving on, then we will do advisory councils. And I believe we had a presentation provided to us.
Good evening, members of the board, Chuck Case, President Cruz, everybody. I'm at the table with Barb Cannell, I think you remember her, and Gabe Shelf. We had provided the video. It was almost exactly 5 minutes.
Nice.
Beth wasn't? Okay. And then the presentation materials as you had. So first things first was, and at the end we'd had a slide saying we're going to invite our director for funeral services here. And the focus for him is to give more specifics really about how program advisories have really informed his work. He's made some dramatic shifts to his program. And it's a really good example. Might tell you a little bit about his program too. So if there aren't any questions, then we're going to turn right over to Gabe.
I have a question.
Sure.
In the past, there has been some discussion about specific advisory committees. It doesn't matter what they were, but the point being that there was a question about whether we had the right people on them to not only identify what is needed now, but what a particular field is likely to need 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down, and that we may need people who hold a different kind of position within the employer entity in order to get that. Are we doing that now? Or is that still something we need to create a mechanism for doing?
I have some perspective. Barb's doing the direct work.
Yeah, I think that's part of the work we're doing right now is to really do an overall review of who's on our committees and what, how engaged are they and what kind of things do they help us continue to shape as for the college. And so that's part of some of the work, as we mentioned in the presentation right now, to really look at that, to make sure we do have the right people for today and the future.
And then perhaps another time, I don't know if any of you have met our new director for workforce, John Knapp. He has a potential direction he's taking us in, of which we really can see the acceleration of non-credit overlaying some of our work, and then he is connected directly to business and industry. That will help also do a little bit of what you're asking, right? He's connected to innovators that are asking us to ask better, harder questions about perhaps to your question. And so I think as presented in there, one of the things we're now doing is hosting a joint recognition ceremony for advisories and MCT with a business symposium. And we're going to repeat that model. And so bringing new people in from the community. As a highlight, I also was on the phone a while back on a program called Tech Amp, which we're tapping into, you know about that. And the interestingness of that conversation, though, was that we have Milwaukee citizens and business owners on the call. And in very nice ways saying, we're ready for this conversation. Are you ready for us? Some of that, right? More as a matter, can we tap into you? And so that speaks again, I think, to some of your questions, like a little bit of, we've been kind of waiting. Are you ready? And almost for in that particular program was an innovation in how we're going to run those programs, thinking forward, a teaching methodology, all of that.
Great, thank you.
That help? Okay. Yes,
Right, so I assume that means we're gonna get those people on our advisory board?
that would be our goal.
Okay,
Yes, yeah.
Thanks. I
Actively,
think that's where that
yeah.
was going.
actively engaging with them.
Bottom line.
Absolutely.
And then I know in the past, and I'm talking to the only person I know under the great roof of MATC who I can say that to, that knows the same past I know.
Oh.
But in the past, the board used to get a report. Same way we look at an HR report, or we look at a finance report. And, you know, we don't get as many reports on our educational programming, but one of the things was always to see where the advisory boards were. And it helped us to see that representation, because I want to make sure there's former students on there. There's the same way a former student sitting here talks very knowledgeably about our programs. Former students on our advisory committees give us that kind of insight. You know, I don't want to, you know, so there are roles on the advisory boards, which I think are super important. And it is something as board members that I think it helps to inform us so we understand that that stuff's happening. So I would love at some point for the board to get a little more insight without us needing every minutia of whatever, but being able to see that those balances are there. Because your report, I think, said we had 800 some members. We're supposed to have 1,000 some members. Where are we missing all of a certain type or more of one than another? Anyway, that's, to me, that's meaningful.
Okay.
In terms of what value we're getting out of these. I do appreciate some of what I heard in the presentation. I didn't hear enough detail in terms of how we see being able to address some of the issues, but I imagine that's what you're working on, and we'll see that like come forward more. But this is definitely like I'm super interested in as a board member.
Good.
So
it'll be, I'll just call this specific, just an example, the specific call we were on with the tech amp from the beginning was there were 60 people on this call from around the area, and you were asked there was a few direct to the point questions on things. I think it's a great starter program to kind of look at, and I know that you guys have signed letters of whatever.
Correct.
And then I threw that at our legislators when we were there as well. So
yeah,
I think it's a good way to start this a little more conversations on the workforce thing as well.
Yeah, it is. I'd say three things when I think about, like, it came up in another call today. We're doing a Biz Times event this week, and they're very interested in this topic. They didn't know, like the public sometimes doesn't even know we do this, right? And they brought up somebody who'd been on a board, and they said, refreshing the membership is important. I sat on a board forever. It didn't change. It really didn't seem like I was there for a reason. I didn't want to be there anymore. And so that's some of what we're discussing, how we keep it fresh, how we keep it invigorated, that leadership is enacted in it, right? And I think to your comment, Director Pence, I think the interestingness of that call was very keen interest from our community that really kind of said, like, you know, kind of direct, which is we're here and we want to work with you. And it might look different. And that we're exploring now.
Great.
I'll try not to take that personally about people who've been on boards too long.
Oh,
But you're actually doing something. You're
Right, you didn't
contributing.
say, that's
Yeah.
the second part.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't want to wait for a while.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, okay. If it's okay, we'll turn it over to Gabe.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to come out and speak. I've been here, it was a couple of years ago when we did some work regarding legislative efforts to just improve the program. So it's great to be back. I was asked to speak on advisory boards, but before I do, just a little bit about me, and then I'll give a little bit about the program after I speak about the advisory boards. So I've been with MATC for 11 years. I've been the program director since 2019. Part of the success of our advisory boards has been the turnaround that our program has seen in the 11 years that I've been here. My first year full-time, I remember the day before classes started, our dean at the time walked in and handed us a stack of spreadsheets with names and said, hey, just start calling students and see if they want to be in the program. That's where we were at that time. Now we're to the point where we have we have students who are coming from all over the state. We're consistently at capacity we do one cohort per year, but we're consistently at capacity. We have an active advisory board, and we have a really good reputation among the profession within the state and even the surrounding areas. So it's come a long way. And again, some of the work that we've done with our advisory board has been a big part of that. So I'll touch on that because I think that's the priority or the big thing that I was brought out to speak on. A little bit about our advisory board. So currently we're composed of 12 members and we're looking to expand to 15. Because we're the only program in the state, which is a big deal for us, our structure is a little bit different in that we aren't just working within our district. We have to cover the entire state of Wisconsin. So we do have a handful of advisory board members from around our area, but we also have advisory board members who join us online from all over the state. One of the reasons for that is something else that our program is doing is we have a large shared program agreement model. We currently have 9 WTCS schools partnering with us to drive student enrollment to MATC. So their first year, they're at a shared program school. And then year 2, they're attending our program either online or face-to-face or however they can be a part of it. So to that end, we wanted to have advisory board members coming from each of those districts to serve as liaisons to those different shared program agreement schools. It also gives us just a different perspective as to what the rest of the state needs and what their interests are. So again, we have 12 members right now. We're looking to expand to 15. A large amount of those currently are funeral directors. We do have a handful of alumni. We have minority members. We have men. We have women. We also have representation from the different associations. So we have a member that comes from the Wisconsin Funeral Directors Association. We have a member on our board from the Funeral Service and Cremation Alliance of Wisconsin. And then we have a member actually from the National Funeral Directors Association, which is located in Brookfield. So just down the road, kind of in our backyard. We do have members that are alumni of the school. We also have members that are alumni from other surrounding schools, which to be honest, gives a really good perspective as to what other school experiences there have been. So it's not just all locked in, like this is all we've done in MATC. We're able to talk about the experience that somebody had at the University of Minnesota or Worsham or one of the other schools that are around the state as well. With our advisory board, something else that works really well. By the way, I ramble, so if you want to cut me off with a question, something else that we're doing with our advisory boards is we are trying to engage in them with subcommittees as well. For years, we would just have our 2 meetings a year and get through our business and check the boxes and everybody'd shake and high five and we'd call it a day. But in the past couple of years, we've been really active with subcommittees as well. So the 3 that we're working on right now, we have what we're calling an apprentice handbook / legislative subcommittee. The purpose of that is to really dig into state statutes and state legislation to make some more reforms and updates to funeral director laws and rules and regulations. Some things that are going to help the program out, some things that are going to help the apprenticeship experience out and help the profession out. We have a seat at the table of that just because of the educational experience that we provide. So we're helping to modify that. Another subcommittee we have is for marketing. We've put a lot of time into developing our marketing plan. Again, with our program being the only one in the state, we have to change our marketing structure. We have to get out to every corner and inch of the state. We got to get a hold of funeral directors to do some marketing and grassroots marketing in their areas. We want to reach out to other shared program schools or other WTCS schools to market on our behalf. So we're developing a lot of marketing for that, and we're in the process of getting that up and running. And then finally, an employment subcommittee. One of the big problems with our profession, and I've heard that this is likewise with a handful of other professions, but people who want to get into this profession don't know where to go to get jobs, and the people who are offering the jobs don't know where to put them to find the audience that they're looking for. So we're actually in the process now of creating a job portal that's directly related to our program. It's not something for the students to find jobs after school. Most of our students have no problem with that. It's to serve as a place where people can come and get jobs, and in doing so are going to learn about our program and what we have to offer, and then get embedded with us and then go out and be licensed. So it's going to give hopefully the funeral professionals across the state a central location to post their jobs, and it's going to give all the people coming through our apprentice course, students, people who are just curious about the profession, a place to put a resume and find a way to reach out and get connected with funeral homes. So those are the three subcommittees that we've plugged into with our advisory boards. So that's kind of the success that we're finding with our advisory boards and what we're doing. So I could ramble on about the rest of the program, but do you have any questions about that?
I would say we brought Gabe here because what you just heard is exemplary in terms of how he has built this program, not by himself, but a lot of support, and the way he's working across the state and the invigoration of those subcommittees. I mean, it's a great example. And then Director Baker's going to hold us to that in the future for the other programs, I'm not sure, but it does provide a really good example of someone so invested. And, you know, all the leads are very different in their roles, right, in terms of what they're doing. But having heard this and even more detail today, I've heard from him. I had the awareness of what he's actually done and what he's built, and it's pretty impressive. So
thank you. Yeah.
Good job.
So yeah, otherwise, you know, in the spirit of what's going on later tonight, you know, at the national level, the spirit of the program or the state of the program is very strong. We're seeing a lot of growth. We've got a bright future ahead of us, and I'll tell you what, as I close here, just again, not to stretch this out too much further, you know, we have some things that we're looking forward to. I think it was 2 years ago, the board approved our move into the West Campus building. So we're working on that right now. We're still working on the design plan, but we're looking at fall of 28, spring of 29, getting tucked in there. That's going to be huge for recruitment. It's going to be huge for collaboration with those professional associations in terms of continuing education events and opportunities, marketing, just better marketing for the program. Student retention, we're working on that too. Again, with these shared programs, we have a large number of students out in the state with a funeral service program code, but we're trying to do better at tracking them all the way through to our front door through the graduation process. Recruitment support, again, the marketing plan, I touched on that. That's been going great. And then even with the new build, we're looking at some other areas of revenue generation for the program in terms of these continuing education opportunities and just opportunities to bring more professionals to our front door to see what we have to offer and what we're all about. So really bright future ahead of us. In terms of me, if you ever have any other questions, I believe in transparency. My email is everywhere. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Please feel free to reach out. We do have a couple of events coming up. Just to remind you of course, there's our apprentice course. We offer a funeral director's apprentice course.
Registered now for this program.
Yeah, there you go. But we do offer
I didn't know this, but
yeah, we do offer a funeral director's apprentice course 1 week in a month. It's a 2-day course. If you're ever curious and just want to learn about what we're about, have a seat, join us, sit in on it. It would be great to have you. Anytime you want to come by for a tour, you're welcome to do that. Just let me know. We're very open door with that. And then on May 14th, we would love to have you come out for our service of gratitude. So over the course of the year, our students embalm between 40 and 50 bodies that come from the medical examiner's office and area funeral homes. These are bodies that are usually unclaimed or abandoned or don't have the funds for normal funeral services. So our students care for them. We see them all the way through the process. And at the end of the year, we have a service in their memory. We invite faculty, administration, people from the funeral profession, advisory board members to come out and just be a part of that day. So if you'd like to attend, we would love to have you there too. So otherwise, please reach out to me if you have any questions whatsoever. All right,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
John, thank you.
Oh, and he said the thing about tonight.
I know, I was like, where's this going?
But I would encourage everyone to visit the facility, and
Yeah.
it's really, it's really
Are they all moved? They're in the move.
not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Because I've seen
We
them
still have
all. Amazing.
the lease is still.
Well, we should evaluate the leads of the advisory boards and then he should give them a little training,
Little training.
guidance. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
how to do
absolutely.
it.
He's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really for a guy who deals with it.
He can
just say
do
that,
that, right? We can come and like advise the other advisory boards on how to.
Yeah, exactly. Give them a
better.
little training, a little.
Yeah.
Because, so just that could be our big issue there by the leads of the
Yeah.
advisory.
So just like one other thing,
Mhm.
I really appreciate this. Thank you. I think
Yeah.
I raised questions about it and I really seriously want to thank the administration for the report. I do truly feel that sometimes we're, as a board, a little too removed from what our work is.
Mhm.
And this goes very much to the heart of what our work is and how community members bring that input, people who have served on the advisory boards, bring that input to our work, and that's kind of where we are. So anyway, I truly appreciate this, and I think it's helpful information for the board's perspective.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. On that note, do we have any new business?
Oh, I do have one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that's just that there was a bunch of back and forth, and again, I raised
Mhm.
a question about the HR report last month and issue of our diversity and hiring. And then there was some back and forth, and it was in, and I really appreciate staff's like quick response on things. I think it might be worthy of us having a conversation though, as a board about, rather than just in some emails back and forth, where I appreciate Director Foley raised some questions, whatever. So I don't know if it's to think about at a future retreat or in a board item, to have conversation about some of those questions so that we all get to hear it.
Okay. Okay, any others? Go ahead.
I would just, right, this is taking a step backwards perhaps, but the summary of the legislative update says that the highlights include increased appropriations for developing Hispanic serving institutions, strengthening historically Black colleges and universities, and some other categories that we've been concerned about.
Mhm.
I guess I'd like to hear at some point, in some way, what each of those means for us. And I'm very surprised that those things got funded, so I'd like to hear more.
Okay. I think Ramey committed to responding to a follow-up already, so maybe she can provide some additional information in that follow-up. Beth, can you
I'm surprised too by that.
message her on that? or
I guess we were effective.
Right,
See?
wow.
One visit, that's all. it
One
took.
visit,
One
that's all it
visit.
took.
It's amazing.
All right, dream team. All right, any other new business? Okay. So future events, as previously mentioned, we have our board retreat on Friday. So, I think we've got some good topics, excited to do that. And then our next board meeting is March 24th in this room at 4 p.m. And that is all of our future events. We are now at adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. We are adjourned. I feel like I should like.
It was early, yeah.
Right, 'cause you don't have the member who likes to do a call.
I know.